You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Tuesdays, we have a chance to visit with our buddy Shea Dixon from On3 the Bengal Tiger. He's with us now. Shady, Happy New Year, man. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year, Matt. Yes, everyone's been asking me all day about Lance Hurd. I figured that's what you would do, but if you're going to go off on it, please, I'll just sit here. I'd love someone else to talk about it.
Lord knows I have a lot of thoughts, and I've never been one to bite my tongue, Shay, so I got a lot to say, and we'll get to that. But let me just start there with your thoughts and what you can tell us about Lance Hurd hitting the portal.
I mean, I'm not surprised, given when I was down in Tampa, he was not with the team, and I put that news out that he did not make the trip, and the more I dug around, it became clear that, for whatever reason, on Lance's side, and I'm sure there's a lot of varying degrees or pockets of kind of the argument you could sit on here, but he stayed back, did not travel with the team, and Brian Kelly, when we asked him, he said, hey, look, he came out and said it. He didn't kind of dance around it. He said, he's at home contemplating his future with our program, and we'll talk to him after the bowl game. I'm focused on guys that are bought in right now, and they got home last night from the bowl, and today Lance Hurd is officially in the portal. So clearly the discussions did not last very long, and I'm not shocked by it. I've heard different people say different things. I'd say when I put together little bits and pieces from everybody I've spoken to that I trust, is that he wants to play offensive tackle and really left tackle. And right now they have a left tackle in Will Campbell, and they've got a right tackle in Emory Jones. And I've heard a lot of people say, and I can agree, looking at it from the outside, that, it made sense that you would kick, Emory Jones from right tackle inside, and then you would play Hurd at right tackle, and then you would eventually move Hurd to left tackle. And that sounds all great and good, but I trust that Brad Davis stuck with the same five on the O-line for a reason, and we don't know right now what Miles Frazier is going to do, what Jared Dellinger is going to do, and those are two of your starting guards. So clearly there was a reason Hurd didn't get on the field this year beyond the one start that Emory Jones kind of rested up before Bama, and that's because they felt they had the five best O-linemen. And I'll kind of wind up my train of thought of, yes, you're losing a valuable piece of offensive tackle, a former five-star, losing a kid. He's played an SEC school, so all of those are not good things. But if there was ever a time for me to tell LSU fans, hey, don't jump off a cliff here because you finally got a five-star offensive tackle, it would be now, when Brian Kelly's your head coach, and he was known at Notre Dame for, as much as anybody, turning out really elite and developing really elite offensive linemen towards the NFL. And then I look at what Brad Davis has done in 3 years here, and he was one of the guys that brought in Lance Hurd and Will Campbell and Emory Jones, and now in this class, a five-star in Weston Davis and another top 100 offensive tackle in Ethan Callaway. And I really feel personally, I've followed LSU recruiting and covered it since the early 2000s. I don't want to date myself too much, but a long time ago. And I can't remember a stretch that they've recruited the offensive line this well in 3 straight years of recruiting classes. So if there was ever a time that this was going to happen with the portal, I'm not surprised it's happening now. They are not shallow on talented offensive linemen, and that's a good problem to have, but again, a problem that sometimes when kids say, hey, I want to play immediately, they're going to leave because the portal allows you a one-time free transfer.
Yeah. Shea, if there's good news from the weekend, it's that LSU did flip Dominic McKinley, the five-star defensive lineman, number one player in Louisiana from Acadiana. How did they do it?
Buckled in relationships. I can't lie that Elijah Robinson going to Syracuse from Texas A&M as the D-line coach to the DC at Syracuse didn't help. It certainly did. The staff shaped up at A&M and Jimbo gone certainly helps. But in the end, this is a kid from Acadiana who I always thought, like whenever Ohio State got brought up, it was like, no, that's too far from home. This is a kid who's very much about family, about his family. His younger brother is a sophomore at Acadiana right now. I think the ability for his mom to be able to drive, his parents be able to drive and see, one son on Friday night there at Acadiana and another on Saturday play college football and do it on the same weekends is a factor that plays into it. And really, look, when Frank Wilson and Brian Kelly went in home with him in December, I talked to his mom for a while the next day, And I had not sensed that LSU had made any sort of real movement until then, at least in my mind. I could tell that in-home visit really stood out. So I think they just buckled in, Matt, and they needed defensive linemen, defensive tackles. Obviously, Mekhi Wingo goes pro today. We hear that news. So that was the best way they could ring in the new year, was getting him not to sign early, because if he signed early, he was likely going to A&M and say, hey, wait till February. And just a few weeks later, he says, I'm done with it. I'm ready to go ahead and commit to LSU, and I'll bring this full circle now. I remember in July when everybody freaked out and said Gabe Relaford, or right after that into September when Dominic McKinley announced the two best, highest-rated defensive linemen in the state were both committed to A&M. And everyone said, this is unacceptable. This can't happen. You've got to lock down the state. Don't tell me Brian Kelly's locking down the state and the staff. And then at the same time, I look at a commit list and of the state, and the two best D linemen, highest-ranked guys, are going to an SEC rival. But those guys, Gabe Relaford already signed with LSU and flipped from A&M, and then now you get Dom McKinley on board as a five-star who flips over to LSU. So kudos to the staff, man. They continue to just go after it. And this was one that I could tell you a few months back I wasn't sure was going to happen, but I think that's a testament to what they were able to do on the recruiting trail by just continuing to just keep on digging.
He's on Twitter at Shea Dixon, On3, the Bengal Tiger. So they get McKinley. Running back Harlem Barry set to announce. Shea, is it tomorrow that he's going to announce here on Wednesday?
It is. It's 10 years to the day that Leonard Fournette at the Under Armour game announced his decision on 5 for 5 day, as everyone would maybe remember it as. But
or 2 for 5 day?
The 2 for 5 day. But those two ended up being top 5 picks, I guess, him and Fournette and Jamal Adams.
It worked out. It worked out okay.
Worked out. And the other three guys didn't get drafted. Not that I'm looking back on it and now remembering and trying to make myself feel better about picking all 5 to LSU. But, yes, that
you weren't the only one, bro.
That was a rough day for me. But, yes, that 10 years to the day, he's now Harlem Barry, another 5-star out of the New Orleans area that plays running back, that's ranked as the number 1 running back, that is being recruited by Frank Wilson. All of those things line up with exactly how Leonard Fournette was a decade ago. And my pick is on Harlem Barry to end up at LSU. He's phenomenal. He is so good, Matt. Jamal Charles would be a comp you could throw out in terms of his running style and the type of player he is. And I think it's just going to be another domino that drops, that for this 2025 class, Dom McKinley is a senior in high school, so he'll be on the team next year. And he's Harlem Barry is a junior, so he's still got some time to go. But this 2025 cycle, LSU has a realistic shot to finish with the number 1 class. And I'll point it out right now. And Brian Kelly and the staff's first 2 full cycles on the recruiting trail, they finished with the number 5 class last year. And right now they have the number 4 class on our rankings on 3. On the industry rankings, it's sitting right around 6 or 7, I believe. But depending on how they finish up in February, you're looking at back-to-back top 5 classes in the first kind of full seasons they've had to go out and recruit. And that's exactly what you're asking for. And I think now you can look at 2025, you get a guy like Harlem Barry in and others who could follow, and you have a realistic shot to beat out Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and have the number 1 recruiting class in America.
Shea, 25 is obviously going to be very exciting, but you're right about how they finish here in February. Are there other players or positions to keep an eye on for the February signing date?
Yeah, the one guy that we're still watching is also a 5-star. He's also committed to A&M, is Terry Bussey, and he's been on the radar for LSU for a long time now. He's already made his official visit to LSU, and he did not sign in December. He, much like McKinley, said, hey, I want to wait and see what A&M looks like, and at the same time go ahead and visit some other schools. Bussey will wait and do that. McKinley went ahead and popped for LSU. Bussey's going to visit LSU, Bama. I think there's a number of teams that he has said he's going to go check out in January and go back to A&M with the new staff, and then he will make it final then. He's an athlete. They like him at DB. That is where they need him the most. He can play really any position. He's about as good as it gets in terms of that athlete label, and we'll see how it goes, man, because I don't want to count LSU out here after they have flipped now 4 A&M commitments into their class, all of them being very highly ranked guys, including a 5-star in Dom McKinley. So still a month away from knowing what that answer is, but boy, they have picked up some steam now that they have started to kind of chip away at that A&M class, and have yet to lose anyone to A&M, but they sure have gained a few pieces.
Shea, last thing, what about the portal? That I know your feeling all along has been that they would sign single-digit players in the portal, and that's looking apropos. They're at 3 right now. Are there other positions or targets in the portal for LSU right now?
Yeah, I would point position most because target is a funny thing. They'll be after a guy, and then suddenly, he ends up elsewhere. Or, and this is, I don't even think it's tampering. I think it's just a reality of knowing what's out there and what the buzz is around guys. As the window closes this week for the portal, there's guys that could go in that I know that teams have heard about and certainly would be on. But
sure.
I would point to corner as being one. They've already got a safety in Jordan Gilbert, and then I look at defensive tackle. And I know I just talked about them getting a 5-star, but you look at what Mekhi Wingo did for this program as a transfer. You look at what Jordan Jefferson did for this program as a transfer defensive tackle. You've got Mekhi Wingo going pro. Great for him. We don't know what Mason Smith will do yet. That's the other piece to this because he was your other starter at DT. But I definitely know that defensive tackle is a position that they are looking at and saying, hey, how can we go out there and get a guy or two that can help us?
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Shea, you're the best. We appreciate it, man. Happy New Year. Thanks again for the time.
Yeah, now I'm just going to have to sit and listen to the whole show for the Lance Hurd. I don't know if you're going to go which direction, but I'll just listen, and then I'll
it's coming
take it from there.
It's coming in about 15 minutes. I'll talk about Derek Carr next, and then we'll come back to Lance Hurd. Kind of flip like LSU Saints kind of go back and forth. Right. Thanks, Shea.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.